Let's go to the LA, where the Chargers have some decisions to make on their defensive line. Two edge rushers, Khalil Mack and Odafe Owe, were extremely productive for the Chargers last year. Owe had 12.5 sacks after they got him from Baltimore mid-season. Both eligible for free agency. Chargers would love to have both of them back, but they have other significant needs, including on the interior of the offensive line. And the Chargers seem to believe this year's free agent class and draft are both deep with potential answers at the edge rusher position. So there's a chance that they don't bring either one back and they find ways to replace them. Mina, how would you handle this if you were the Chargers?
Yeah, it would be really nice to keep both of them because in the second half of the season, after the trade for Owe, the four-man rush really got going with, of course, Tuli Tuipulotu. Loved when all three of these players were on the field together, by the way. The devil is in the details, I think, was Khalil Mack. How much does he want? The length of contract, obviously, nearing the end of his career. The Chargers do have a lot of money, but as you alluded to, major needs on the interior of that offensive line. So I think they have to see how the total picture fits together in terms of whether or not the two pass rushers are asking for too much.
Yeah, Dan mentioned Tyler Linderbaum before. Chargers GM Joe Ortiz comes from Baltimore. Maybe that's a spot.
Yeah, I mean, we all know the Chargers O-line is the most important thing that they're looking to do. I mean, listen, their O-line should get better just because it's going to be healthier. But this is where, you just hired a new offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel, Justin Herbert, etc. Like you, it's offense, 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 offense. I want Khalil Mack back as well, but if he wants too much money and you're going to tie up my arm that I just know right there's no trade-off for that for me, and it does seem like that there can be some other moves to make if they need to. But at the same time, you would definitely want those guys back because you obviously did lose your defensive coach obviously, and it would be great to have a lot of that continuity. A lot of things where we're like you already know, hey, this is what works, this is what doesn't. And you kind of don't have to rebuild that from the ground up. You lose multiple players like that, now you're rebuild. Where I'm using the word rebuild definitely differently than we usually talk about teams like, we're in a rebuild. But it'll have more of a rebuilding flavor to it. There'll be even more new now that you have to kind of juggle and make sense of and figure out. And it would be very nice if the Chargers simply did not have to now add that to the list of things that they need to do this off-season. And quite frankly, I'm, not so sure the Chargers have shown their ability to do that at the highest level, quite frankly. Now, don't get me wrong, you have Harbaugh now. So, that's obviously different than what you've had in years past. But, just when you kind of have things that are working pretty well for you, sometimes the move is just keep it as is. But, right, the devil is in the details. I am very much curious, what especially Khalil Mack wants more than anything. I mean, he is older and he is at the end of his career, but he's still playing at an incredibly, high level. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's always tough in these situations. I always feel like how often do teams make a play for a pass rusher and they're like excited about and then they get injured, right? Either it's a trade in the middle of the season or off-season and they're like, alright, this guy's going to take our defense to the next level. And then they get injured. I mean that seems to happen it just happened with Dallas Cowboy or not with Dallas Cowboys moving on from Micah but with the Packers like it just seems that every kind of big defensive splash move always ends up with one of them getting injured. Which is why if you can kind of just keep what you have, keep it but don't break the bank. And I will always lean on just getting younger defensive players, cheaper defensive players because they do get banged up a lot. Defense does get banged up a lot and the idea of tying up money with an older aging player, defense, etc. that would just always make me uncomfortable. So yeah, I mean what are the Chargers' plans for free agent pass rushers? I don't even know. It's just like how can you even answer that question this moment in time? Feels like at least one of them won't be back because his team would like them back. But yeah, it really is going to come down, I think, to a financial situation. Now, you could also make the argument just pay these guys because you don't now want to correct your offense to now only welcome more problems defensively, but this is where you just have to be smart and make the right, make the smart decisions. This to me right now is when the off-season is at its messiest because we don't have a real sense of where anyone's going in the draft. I don't care about any of those mock drafts. I don't care about any of that. Don't care about any of that. Don't care about any of that. We don't actually know who's available and who's not in terms of trade, free agency. We don't really know. It is such a mess and it's just all open in the air, right? Who's actually getting released? Who's being franchised? It's just a mess. And this part is, to me for my perspective is always the most frustrating because any of the content, any of the conversations for the most part are kind of loose, really loose. And that's why I try to stick to the conversations like I think Max Crosby, I think there's a true absolute positive chance that he is going to get traded, that they're going to move on from him and so that's a conversation that I want to have because it actually feels real. It feels grounded in the reality of the situation. Now it's still kind of impossible to figure out where he's going to land and all those types of things but I'm just kind of I don't know. I do think there's a lot of legs with the A.J. Brown. And I think the Eagles are more than willing to move on from A.J. Brown. And I think it'll actually be a good decision for them and they'll come out on top, but also they're not willing to just unload him just because they're alright, we got to get rid of him. And so I find that conversation pretty interesting. Conversations like this, situations like this are a little bit more of again the nitty-gritty of what it is to run a team. And the nitty-gritty of in terms of what it is to run a team, we don't have the information. We don't have the details. So, it becomes kind of impossible from my viewpoint to have an accurate discussion, right? Everything becomes so hyper-theoretical and it's just and I actually think listen Mina is not my favorite person out there. But the way how she said, the devil's in the details and I think that really sums up the Chargers in this moment of time. The devil is in the details and we don't got any of the details. So I'm curious how Chargers fans feel right now. The defense had been so great these last couple of seasons and now real change is near, from coaching roster etc. How are you feeling about that? They're taking a big swing offensively. I shouldn't say a big swing, but making a big move offensively. Now, defensively, things are going to have to change. What does that mean all to you right now? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much.